Kia ora, good morning. I've been up for, I know, I've been up for a little bit, not hours, but I'm still kind of half asleep, but I'm just sitting with the dream that I just had because it's quite an emotional one. For me, it's emotional because it's personal. So, I had a dream that my very first fiance, his name was Philip, he lived in Perth, Western Australia. I was laying down on a bed and he came in wearing this t-shirt, and he said to me, I want to give you this t-shirt, because he in the dream he knew that I like sleeping in big t-shirts like football shirts, and my dream is to have a whole collection of like football shirts and like authentic football shirts and rugby jerseys and all of the ice hockey shirts so that I can sleep in them, big oversized ones. And he came in with this one and he said, I got this for you to sleep in. And I said to him, what are you doing here? And he came down to lay on the bed, and he scooped me up in his arms. So now I'm thinking there's something happening to Philip, because I was 19 when we got engaged and he was 32. There was quite a big age gap. I was 16 when I met him. Had to wait for him to get a divorce and stuff, and yeah, he was my first introduction into broken hearts and tragedy. Men who don't defend you against men who don't have honour, men who don't defend you against. His mother was a very devout Christian, and she thought she had convinced everyone that I was a witch. But he was French and Italian, and he scooped me up in his arms. I mean, yeah, if I'm 50-something now, he's, God, I hope I'm just wondering now whether something's happened to him, because he scooped me up in his arms. He gave me the t-shirt to put on to sleep in, and he lay down on the bed and he scooped me up in his arms, and he said to me, Debbie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to you. God, now I'm thinking, has something happened to Philip? Because, I mean, he'd be in his 70s now. And then next thing, he said to me, I'm so sorry I did that to you. He said to me, but I need you to get in the car, because you've got to drive the kids to the show. And I was like, right, okay, sort of like a little bit stunned. But I was like, right, okay. So I had this t-shirt on and I got in the car, and there were these 4 kids in the car, and I was just about to drive off, and like there was just all this snow just like dumped on the car. It was like so many inches of snow. There was no way we were going to be able to drive this car, but I somehow managed to drive the car in the snow. I mean, the snow was up past the front windshield of the car, but I kind of, I don't know how I did it, but I used the windscreen wipers to brush it all off. I can't drive in real life. And me and these 4 kids, and they were only little, were driving in the snow. And then I'd taken them to the theatre. and we were watching Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle, who was Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster and young Frankenstein, doing that performance of putting on the Ritz, and it was in black and white and everything. And I'm going to get emotional, but if you have a heart, you're going to understand why. I'm sitting there thinking, how am I in a black and white movie watching Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle do their performance of Boy on the World? It's one of the greatest scenes of all time in movie comedy. And I just felt this wave of sadness. I've been feeling exceptionally sad, like just this wave of sadness came over me. And I felt it when I was going to bed. Now I'm thinking like maybe something's happened to Philip. Unless unless I was picking up on Lexi, getting ready to come in. Anyway, so I'm sitting there watching this performance of putting on the Ritz, and Lexi came and sat beside me. Now, Lexi changed my life in 2012 because it was at the 2000 was it 2012 or 2013? It might have just been the start of 2013, just when I'd started my blog. She died in August 2012, so this might have been like, I think I started my blog like in February, March of 2013. It was not long after that. And I started that blog because I was watching Chip Coffey give the most unbelievably dangerous advice to children who were experiencing paranormal activity. And it pissed me off to the point that it's kind of spurred me on to want to start my blog. And it was not long after I started my blog, I was contacted by a news reporter from Ohio. I can't remember her last name, but her first name was Suzanne. And I did a couple of readings for her. And she said to me, I think you're incredible, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple of families I was wondering if you could talk to. 4 of their kids were just killed in an car accident, across a train bridge, blah, blah, blah. And I really think that they could do with talking to you. And I was like, absolutely. They offered me money. I said no, absolutely not. I had always made a point of I do not charge parents who are grieving the loss of a child. And I met Lisa and her daughter Savannah and her husband, God bless him, I can't remember his name, but Lisa was Lexi's mum. And we talked for years. She was a school nurse, and her strength and how she coped with the loss of her child, as well as 3 of her child's dearest friends. They'd been at some social gathering, some school gathering, or they'd been out at some social gathering and, turned a corner too fast, crashed. And 4 of them died. There were like 7 in the car, I believe. I've put links in the description box below. But Lisa and I talked for years, and Lexi taught me a lot. Now, the thing is, the T-shirt that Philip gave me, because I was a new mum, I'd had Thomas in 2009, Gabriel 2010, and I met Lexi's mum and the other kids' parents in 2013. So I had little ones. I had like my parents were wee, and Lisa had sent my boys T-shirts of Lexi's favourite football team, and I'm for the life of me, I'm trying to remember them. I just remember their shirts were navy blue and red, and I made a point of saying to the boys, we can never throw these shirts out, because I said, even when you get too big for them, I want to keep them because they were special to me. Because they, like, for all that Lisa was going through, she was so grateful for the help because I wouldn't take any money. She said, can I at least buy the boys a present? And she sent the boys the shirt of Lexi's favourite football team. And it was navy blue and red. I thought it was something like, I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. Because it was the shirt, but it was that adult shirt that he put me in. So the 4 little kids in the car would have been the kids that died in that car crash that I was driving to the theatre. And while I was watching this Putting on the Ritz performance and thinking about my slapstick comedy, which I'm going to call When the Band Plays, Lexi came and sat down beside me. And I knew she was there because she took my hand. And like you're in a theatre by yourself, and then someone takes your hand, like you're a bit startled. So I sort of did a look, and then I did a double take. And I was like, oh my God. And she said to me, I haven't got long, so I need you to listen. And she put my face in her hands. She said to me, ma'am, she knew my name was Debbie, but she goes, ma'am, because it was like she was being stern with me. She said, don't you give up. Kids like me need you. She said, you can do this by yourself. You don't need anyone. Promise me you won't give up. I said, I promise I won't give up. She said, you can do this by yourself. You don't need anyone. Understand? And I said, yes. And she gave me this big kiss on the cheek. She threw her arms around me and she said, you kept my mum alive. She said, I'll never be able to thank you enough. She said, just remember, don't give up. Keep moving forward. You don't need anyone. And I said, okay. And she said, okay, I've got to go. And then she shot off down the aisle. And that was it. I woke up. Her mother, when she sent those T-shirts to the boys, she sent me a scarf, this beautiful purple scarf. And Lexi was wearing it. In the dream, she was wearing it. And my ex has got it. He's holding all my stuff hostage in the dungeon. And it's at his dungeon, and I'm determined to get it back. I've been sent various gifts over the years from people who were grateful for the work that I did, because I wouldn't take money from them, so they send me little gifts and trinkets and that. I spoke to all 4 of the kids' parents, but Lisa was the one that I had like a real proper bond with. I explained how death works to the parents with the help of the kids. And it helped them with their grief to know how it all worked. And it spurred me on to, I made a video on my YouTube, Parents Dealing with Grief, explaining how it works. I put the link in the description box. it also encouraged me to come up with my products. You know, my rehua spray and my tane clay, because after the accident, people were going to the crash site and doing seances and taking souvenirs from, bits from the car, and doing paranormal investigations there to see if they could see anything. And, that real gorehound death freaks who thrive on tragedy. And, you know, they wanted to keep these kids bound. Hang on, sorry, please forgive me. And so I came up with the rehua spray and tane clay because of Lexi and the kids. Because when you use it, and I had even said to, just a couple of years ago, to Lexi's mum, if I could get you send you some of the rehua spray and tane clay, you can put it at the crash site because it'll lift anything up that's stuck there, and it'll stop people from going there to do seances and paranormal investigations and that, because when people do stuff like that, it can bind the energy of the souls that lost their lives there to the place forever. And as a high priestess in that, this is the sort of thing that I'll be selling at the Alchemist Cavern. And it's because of Lexi and those kids. And there was also another girl, Vanessa Wang, and her mother Debbie from Pennsylvania. And I spoke to Vanessa. We talked for years and years and years. I met them. I got contacted by Debbie at Christmas time. It was just after Christmas, like Boxing Day, I think it was. I know it was somewhere between Christmas and New Year's, like about 2016, 17, maybe. I can't remember. But Vanessa and her boyfriend Jay were in a car accident, and Jay died, and Vanessa almost died. And when she was rushed to the hospital and she was in surgery, they didn't think she was going to make it. But while she was in surgery and Debbie was at the hospital preparing, because they said, like, it doesn't look good, so we need you to prepare yourself. While Debbie was sitting in the hospital waiting for the news that her, if her daughter was going to pull through the surgery or not, she pulled out her laptop or pulled out her phone or whatever, and she found me. And she contacted me. And she said, I need your help. She told me what happened, and I contacted Vanessa while she was on the table having surgery. And I said to Debbie, look, Jay's told me to say she's not going to die. Like, I don't care what the doctors say. Jay's saying she's not going to die. And she's saying, long recovery, blah, 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 blah. And I said, but, please, I said, I hope I'm right. I really, really hope I'm right. But I said, you can't hold this against me if I'm wrong. I said, because I've never done anything like this before. And I was terrified. But a couple of hours later, she contacted me. She was like, they said it's a miracle. She's going to pull through, blah, blah, blah. But the thing was, when Vanessa came out of surgery and she was sort of able to communicate in that again, she confirmed everything that I'd been saying that Jay had said. And it had blown people's minds. And so Debbie said, when Vanessa's able to talk to you, would you talk to her? And I said, absolutely. So then Vanessa and I connected, and we talked for years. And she was even going to come and work for me, because she owned a childcare facility, and she was going to run my babysitters club when I was originally going to New York to be with Martin. And actually, when I went to New York, one of the trips when I went to meet Martin's mum, my future mother-in-law, and I stayed there in New Jersey, Vanessa and Debbie came up all the way from Pennsylvania to come and meet me. And I've got the photos. I'll put the photos up. I was still horrendously fat back then, but I had been losing weight, but I was still a big un. But yeah, I'll put the photos up, and you'll get to see Vanessa and her mum Debbie. Vanessa's got, well, last time we spoke, she had a baby, a wee girl, you know, and she had been, people had turned on her. She was being victimised and bullied in her town because not long after Jay died, her best friend came to visit, and he bought some drugs and alcohol, and he accidentally OD'd in her bed. She woke up in the morning, and her best friend was dead beside her in the bed. And everybody said that she'd killed him. Everybody said that she was like cursed with death, and that if you go near her, you know, you're going to die. And like people were really, really horrible to her. And she was having a really hard time struggling with that. She was only a teenager. You know, she was victimised really, really bad. She wasn't treated really well, and yeah, she was on the brink of giving up. And I kept just giving her the support and encouragement not to give up. And it's because of Lexi, and even like Jay, you know, because of these kids that die in these tragic accidents and these murder houses and all of that I came up with the rehua spray and tane clay. And the reason why I wanted to have this school to teach kids about the paranormal and the occult and the supernatural and all of that, so that they wouldn't be afraid of it, but they wouldn't abuse it as well. And to stop people from being like gorehounds at murder sites and crash sites and all of that. It's all because of Lexi. I'm determined to get my scarf back from the Dungeon of Doom. But yeah, she said to me, don't give up, kids like me need you. I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to give up. I think maybe it's because I was questioning whether it would be a good idea to continue doing it in Switzerland or not. Just a brief part, like just a brief, like, not am I doing the right thing, but, or even should I go to Switzerland, but would it be wise to go to Switzerland, to build this in Switzerland, even though I'm drawn there? And I think that's why she came to me in the dream. Don't give up. You can do this on your own. You don't need anyone. So yeah, I'm okay with doing it on my own though. I've always said from day one, I don't need anyone's help, but it's just it's why I want to do my radio shows. It's why I want to do my mystery inside history shows. It's why I want to do all of that. Kids are drawn to that sort of thing, and if I can teach them to understand how all of this works, when they're going through their hardest times, when parents are going through tragedy, anybody who looks at the advice and information and the way I deal with it, they have a better understanding of it, and they respect death and grief more. I put faces and stories to the tragedy in a way that people finally get it. And I'm doing it for the children. And, you know, when you see my videos with these lights, not all of them are victims of child trafficking. Some of them are, they just died. Some of them are kids like Lexi. I couldn't believe I was seeing her face. So, putting on the Ritz, yeah, I mean, I think it's because I had kind of casually thrown out the idea of, oh, I'll get Yodok. I'll see if I can hunt down. I was thinking of going to his entertainment company, his Bricks entertainment company, and saying to him, like, do you and some of your friends want to be in this movie? Because they're all musicians. But then I gave up on that idea. There are some ideas you just have to let go of, you know? Maybe that's the sadness, I don't know. I just know that I felt this wave of sadness and then she turned up. And as a mum, the death of a child is unnatural. When we're burying our children, we're doing something wrong as a society. And then, of course, I think because I just done that Dardine case as well, and that was in Illinois, which is not far from Ohio. Yeah, I think I was conjuring energy. Or maybe, I don't know, it's like she was getting ready to let me know she was manifesting, I think. So between Amber and Lexi and the other kids she was with, they've all been letting me know, just get in the car and drive. Against all obstacles, just get in the car and drive. Snow and dreams mean purity and innocence. And when kids are in the dream where there's snow, it basically means like divine grace, divine blessings, that the angels and cherubs are backing you. It's like divine backing, divine support from the angels and cherubs, and children are angels and cherubs. And when children die, it's to teach the world a lesson. They sacrifice themselves, they martyr themselves to teach the rest of us a lesson about how we're not respecting children. And you know, my story, I'm in this for the kids. For me, this is about the kids. It's always been about the kids, not just the Epstein ones, but all the kids I've worked with in the past. I worked with a mum who, I think he was 7 or 8, who killed himself in New York. I worked with a mum in, oh God, I can't remember, Georgia, I think it was, whose wee boy died in a fire that she was convinced her boyfriend had sacrificed in an Illuminati sacrifice with his Paw Patrol blanket. He was found wrapped up in his Paw Patrol blanket in the house fire. And the kids would come to me and help their parents deal with the grief. And my boys haven't died, thank God, thank the Lord, because I couldn't survive that. That's what I keep saying to these mums, I couldn't survive it, you're a lot stronger than me. But I did lose my boys. My ex-husband murdered our relationship between me and my boys. And it's Mother's Day next Sunday. My boy last year got me a plushie of a, I'm looking right at it, capybara. And we called him, was it Juan? He's got a little turtle backpack on. It's the first Mother's Day present I've gotten in years. So I think Lexi coming and the kids coming. It's these kids reaching out to their mums. It's a mum thing, a mother love, you know. I'm the granddaughter of Papatūānuku, Mother Earth. And yeah, she was saying, don't give up. You don't need anyone. You can do this on your own. But she held my face in a way that was like she was very like, are you getting it? Are you understanding? Do you get it? You can do this on your own. So, yeah. And she shot off down the aisle so fast that she was like the Flash. Pew, left a white streak. So, yeah, a little bit emotional. So that's Lexi in the thumbnail. That's her headstone. You'll see some articles about it. I talked to all the families of the kids that passed away. It was an incredible experience. I was terrified of getting it wrong. But those kids completely changed my life because they made me want to do stuff for parents who are grieving. I also I met a mum whose husband had killed himself and their kids, and she was like on the brink of madness with her grief. And I came up with the AED therapy, aversion, eversion, diversion therapy. Every time she was overcome with grief, do an aversion, eversion, diversion tactic to help her overcome the grief. Her oldest kid was 10 or 10. Her youngest was like 4 or something. She had 3 kids and they were very young. And yeah, I had another woman in Australia whose little girl was like 3 who died, and she wanted to take her own life so that she could join her little girl in the grave, because she was convinced that she was terrified that her little girl was lonely. And I had a family who reached out to me. It was actually the sister of a couple who reached out to me whose daughter died of heart disease. She had a heart condition, not heart disease. She had a heart condition. I always just called her Katie because I don't like to give up. I either call them Katie or Doug. When she was diagnosed, you know, when they knew she was dying, she wanted her parents to be okay with her death. So she got her parents to contact this medium, psychic, spiritual lady who came into the home and kind of befriended the family. And then when Katie died, a couple of days, I think it was like 2 days after Katie's funeral, this woman contacted the family and said that Katie had come to her and said that the demons had her. She was trapped with the demons, and that she needed to clear the space and all of that, but it was going to cost 10 grand. You see where I'm going with it. So she came in to do this thing. The parents gathered the money from nowhere, conjured, that's what the word conjure means, to gather from nothing. They conjured the money, gave it to her, and lo and behold, it didn't work. It was getting worse. And that, you know, they'd have to get this from Brazil and that from China and this from blah and here from blah, and it was going to cost like 25 grand or something. She needed to get this Brazilian shaman involved, yada blah blah. And they were going to put out a second mortgage on their house. And the dad's, Katie's dad's sister or sister-in-law. You have to forgive me, this was a long time ago. I never forgot the stories. Contacted me and she said, I follow your blog and this is the story and can you help, because my brother, yeah, so who, yeah, okay, so yeah, it was his sister. My brother is planning to take his own life because he's so afraid of these demons getting to Katie that he's got it in his head that if he takes his own life, he can go to the afterlife, the underworld, and protect his daughter. They gave this woman thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so I spoke to the parents, and Katie came through and she was talking about saying to her dad, like it's not true, yada yada. And I was saying, if she's coming through, it's not true. And I said, God would never, ever, 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 like demons and the underworld aren't allowed to touch children. As soon as children die, they go immediately into the arms of the Lord. And I didn't believe in God back then, but they were Catholic because they were a Latino family, a Hispanic family. So, I wanted to become a Indigenous reverend even back then, because it's got nothing to do with religion and everything to do with understanding that the way different cultures deal with things like grief through their religions. And I'd always said, one day I'll become ordained. And now I am. I actually got ordained when I was locked up. Thank you very much. I received my certificates when I was locked up. It was one of the first things I did when I got that little bit of money from the government after I bought my sons a pile of clothes because they had no clothes. As I used the last 60 quid to do the work in order to become ordained and get my certificates. Still thinking back then I was going to America. And so just because I didn't believe in God didn't mean that I was going to stop people from believing in God, when I worked with them. So I said, the Lord would never ever, babies and children and infants and that, they don't go for trials. They don't go into the underworld. They go straight into the arms of the Lord. And I said, and even if you didn't believe that, the fact that she's communicating is proof that she's not in the underworld with demons. Demons aren't allowed to hold the light of the pure. That's why they get so deeply punished for it. The second demons come anywhere near the light of the pure and innocent, they get absolutely torched for it. Even Satan, there's two things that he loves more than anything in the world: his Lord, his Father, God, technically his twin, but he loves his Lord more than anything, and which is why he's coming after people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and Keir Starmer, and the pure and innocent animals, children, nature, that sort of thing. And if you do anything to hurt the pure and innocent, you're going to meet Satan. God doesn't get his hands dirty with that. His wrath calls upon Satan, and Satan deals with it because God's too nice. He's too forgiving. And there are some crimes that are done against the pure and innocent that are unforgivable. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Keir Starmer, all of you, like I'm talking to you. So, Iran is backed by God, whether Trump likes it or not. And I remember her saying to her dad, you just focus on auditioning for American Idol. And she was laughing, and then she was saying something about They were having, her and her dad were having this private joke. I can still remember seeing his face. He was shocked, like this look of like, wow, wow. Because she was saying like, remember when you used to sing in the shower and that, and we used to say audition for American Idol? But apparently the joke is that he was a bad singer. And she made some joke about him auditioning for American Idol. And he was like, I still remember, I can see it in my head, the look on his face, because we were on a Skype call. And he was like, wow, like he leaned in, like with his hands together, because they had the laptop on their coffee table. And when I said it, like her mum was like, and put her hand on the dad, and he sort of leaned back like, wow, wow. And I said, see, she's not with demons. And he was like, he was blown away, and he couldn't thank me enough. And then they ended up, what happened was I told them that they needed to contact the authorities, that she needed to be investigated. And last I knew, she'd gone on the run. This woman had gone on the run. And when it had been investigated by, I believe, the FBI, she'd done it to a lot of people. She'd been lying to people to, rip them off. And then that's when I knew I had been sent. I was the one that had to protect all these people from fakes and frauds like Santaro and all my students who were going out and charging money for readings that they had no business doing. The fakes and frauds. That's when I knew that that I had been sent here because of my knowledge, because of the things I knew, because of things I could do, because of the connections that I had. I was saving lives of grieving parents who were unable to cope. I was helping them in ways that psychics and mediums and doctors and shrinks and TV shows and that couldn't help them. And that Chip Coffee Cup with his psychic kids show pissed me off so much that it triggered me into needing to do something about it back in 2013. And then, lo and behold, I've got my foundation out of it that I will be building in Switzerland, because I can do this on my own. I don't need anyone. And that's what Lexi was saying. I can do this on my own, and I will, because she was letting me know that the kids need me. Not just the living ones, but the dead ones too. They need me, because I'm going to be investigating a lot of things. I get called to investigate missing people's cases. And I've had so many people try and stop me. So many people try and... Like, how evil do you have to be? How soulless and dark and evil do you have to be that you're so jealous and so mentally unstable that you would rather try and kill a woman and go out of your way to harass her and abuse her mentally, psychologically, whatever your poison is, to stop her from saving the lives of children, grieving parents, grieving family members, stopping football. I mean, we know why. Because I'm stopping frauds. I whistleblow on frauds. And my students and like people like Santaro and their little cult in that, they were all frauds. Chris was getting ready to come out with all those products that he'd stolen from me and the bakery and all of that, and the first thing I would have done was had a go at him for being a liar and a fraud. And the paranormal industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but by the time I'm done with these people, when I'm able to get my work out there, my shows, my products, the Amber Wilkinson School of Witchcraft, I'm going to be putting warriors, boots on the ground. They're going to be like divine warriors that I'm going to send out in the world to do this the right way. Remember I was saying the other day about how they'll get my bag, that I was inspired by Mary Poppins, my carpet bag. When they graduate from the Amber Wilkinson School of Witchcraft, they're going to be given their little bags. And in their bags are going to be like the kits, so that when they go to paranormal places and crash sites like Lexi's one, they can put the clay down and put the spray down and all of that, and cleanse the area and release anything that's trapped, and push away any of the negative energy that's drawing these paranormal investigators and gorehounds to the sites, because it's who does that? So it's natural to have a fascination with death. It's instinctual. We're born with a fascination with death because it teaches us how to stay alive. It's an instinctual thing, but some people take it too far. You know, when they're collecting bits of metal or bits of the headlight, you know, picking up stuff off the ground to keep as like a morbid memento. Like it's just, it ends up cursed. You know, you're profiting and you're glorifying for your own need, for your own ego, for your own websites and like, shares and subscribes, somebody else's darkest, deepest torment and grief. There is nothing more painful than a parent losing a child. It's the most unnatural kind of death that there is on earth. And there's people out there that take the piss out of it, that profit from it, that use it to their own advantage, and it's wrong and it needs to stop. And because of everything that was happening with Lexi and the other kids, I was determined to do something about it. And now I have the foundation, and the Alchemist Cabin is going to have those products. And when I have the Amber Wilkinson School of Witchcraft, I'll be able to put divine warriors out. I'll be able to send them out. They can go home, do their investigations, and when there's crash sites and that, they can just go and push some tane clay into the ground. They can go and I came up with the spray because where I think it was because where the car had landed, it was across a ditch. And so I was like, well, to get to cars and all of that, you know, where bodies are found across ditches and that sort of thing, to not to disturb the ground, because Māori people, we don't disturb the ground where death has taken place. We just cleanse it and leave it as it is and let Papatūānuku, Mother Earth, do the rest. Like with those boys that got stabbed at the back of my ex's house. I got permission from the forensics team after they did the investigation to cleanse the area. I didn't pick up any of the feathers. I didn't wash the blood away. I didn't do anything like that. I didn't pick up any of the, medical wrapping or anything like that. I just put the cleansing stuff down, the cleansing salts down that I made up, sprinkled it on the ground, and then I let nature do the rest. Birds didn't chirp or sing or nothing in that area for months. And then I cleansed it, and after a couple of weeks, the birds came back. So, Māori people, we don't disturb the ground. We just cleanse it. And so I remember thinking, like, how am I going to do it? So the boys and I came up with, for where there's a long distance, we'll use water pistols. And when it's a high distance, we'll use slingshots. Well, like crossbows. I just bought a little crossbow, like just a couple of weeks before that retard got me locked up to stop me from whistleblowing for him and his cult being fraudulent. I just bought a little crossbow off eBay, and we were going to take it out to test it with some of my tane clay to fire them, because we'd gone to Fountains Abbey to do a cleansing at Fountains Abbey, and some of the places where I had to leave the clay were too high to reach. So we were trying to figure out how we could reach them, and one of the kids came up, I think it was Gabriel, came up with the idea to use a crossbow. We could fire it up with a crossbow or a slingshot, and I was like, oh my God. So I'd bought myself just a little wooden crossbow, and we were going to use it, and then Chris got me locked up. So I don't, I don't, didn't need them. I don't need them. I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need anyone's support. I'll do this on my own. That's what Lexi was saying. I think it's what Amber's been saying. Like, I'm going to meet someone at the other end of this, but it doesn't, but it's someone's waiting for me who's going to end up being the man of my dreams, the love of my life, blah, blah, blah. But my journey to get there isn't to get to him. It's that I think I'm going to meet him once I'm there through the work that I'm doing. And Philip was French and Italian. And France and Italy are right there, so maybe I'm going to end up with a French or Italian guy. I don't know. But Lexi was saying, I can't believe, I can still see her face. She looks dead, like she looked me dead in the eye, like she was trying to say, like, listen to me. You need to get this, you need to understand this, you listen to me. She had my face in her hands and she looked pointed right at me. You don't need anyone else, you can do this on your own. She's with her little accent, her little American accent, Debbie. Kids like me need you. So, just seeing her face, I got to get that scarf back. It was a beautiful thing too. I had it up over my mirror and he took it all down. He took all my stuff. He barricaded my wardrobe so I couldn't get anything out of my wardrobe. And then he took everything else down into the dungeon and put a big door up so that I couldn't get in to get any of my stuff, to stop the boys, because Gabriel was starting to get stuff out of the house for me when I moved in here, because there was things that I needed. My mum's rosary beads that I inherited after she died are all there. But there's, like with my Amber Wilkinson School of Witchcraft, only my students that graduate will be given these bags with these products in it. And then when they need to restock the products, they'll get discounts. They'll use their membership number and they'll get a discount and then we'll ship them out, their products. But I want my students to come from all over the world. And then, because I've had situations as well where I've been sent things by people that they believe to be cursed, because fakes and fraud psychics and mediums and clairvoyants and that gave them all this stupid talismanic bullshit that they believed was going to help them but did more harm than good. They sent them to me for me to cleanse. I buried them all. I even buried stuff. I even did stuff to help Chris's parents. I buried them all, but now I'm thinking I wish I had kept them, because I could have put them in my occult museum. I've been to a couple of occult museums and none of them will be as good as mine. I'm going to invite people to send their cursed objects, their haunted objects, and I'll put them in the museum and I'll explain what they are. When I was when I still thought I was going to America but not New York, I was going to go to Massachusetts. But the only reason why I decided not Massachusetts is because my ex-best friend Jose's from there, and he had a relationship with the pedophile, an online sexual relationship. I don't know if it was where they met in person, but she sent me photos of the evidence. That's how I know she was with my husband and my best friend in that, because she sent me photos of the proof. sexual evidence, if you know what I mean. And I decided it wouldn't be a good idea to go to Massachusetts because of him. I didn't know how safe I'd be, considering I know that he was working alongside Elon Musk. And, with the hacking and that, because he was the one I was saying he was going to help me build my server for my foundation. Ripped my heart out when I lost him. I grieved for him hard, real hard. And one of my friends there, who I'd met through my blog, I'd helped her with some things as well, done a binding for her. She was going to be my HR manager, and we were talking about when I was looking at properties to buy, one of them had a swamp at the back, and I said if I used the property I could use the swamp for the haunted objects for my museum. But so the truth of the matter is there's nobody else in this world that can do what I do. I turned grief into a psychology, kind of a supernatural psychology that shrinks. And psychologists and that don't have a clue about, they wouldn't have a clue. They don't know how to deal with grieving parents the way that I can. Lexi was the one that taught me. I remember one time I was talking to Lisa. I can't remember whether Lexi had come to me or I'd had a dream. But I remember saying to her that I'd seen, Lexi was showing me this white light that was connected to their belly buttons. It was an invisible white light, and I was saying to Lisa, Lexi's saying that because you're my mum, even though I'm not here anymore, we're connected through this invisible cord. And it always fascinated me. I even remember asking my sister Marion about it, who was my first proper teacher, and she couldn't explain it. Now I understand it because it's biorhythmic. Now I understand it. And now because I understand it, I can take it out into the world and help parents deal with their grief. I'm good at it. I'm a parent myself, but I'm good at it because I'm here to teach love. And there's no greater love than that between a parent and a child, whether it's the mother or the father. When you've lost a child and you're grieving that child, there's no greater love. But it doesn't detach after death, and that's what Lexi was trying to show me. There's an energetic field between the mother and the child. With the fathers, it's not the belly button, it's the heart. The connection is heart to heart, but with the mother and child, it's from the belly button, from the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord doesn't detach after birth. It's there energetically for all time. And I remember when I told Lisa about that, it made a huge difference to her. And I can't believe she said that I saved her mum. So Lisa must have been on the brink of giving up or something. I know I helped the other, when I spoke to the other parents as well, but it's just Lisa and I, once I did the work for the other three families, we detached like I did with all my other clients, but Lisa and I stayed in contact for years. So, and Lexi's sister Savannah. So so there she was in the dream. It's I've had to deal with so much over the years I'd completely forgotten. And there she was, reminding me why I'm doing this, why I was doing it in the first place, and the value that I bring to grief, the value that I bring to the world with what I can do with the occult, the supernatural, the paranormal, grief, and the psychology of it all. And I don't need anyone. I can do this on my own. And I will. So she gave me the pep talk I needed. Not that I was doubting it. I wasn't doubting any of it. I was just sort of thinking, like, am I sure? Like with Massachusetts and that, is it a good idea? Because, connections to the past. But it's like the thought of going to Switzerland makes me so happy. It makes my heart so happy. I can do this on my own. I don't need anyone. There's kids out there that need me, and there's parents out there that are going to need me more. So, yeah, so that's the plan. Amber Wilkinson School of Witchcraft. And I'll get my little divine warriors out there to help spread the word and cleanse the areas and do all their proper investigations. They can set up their own little channels, their YouTubes and that. We'll put them on by the time my streaming service is up and running, they won't be putting it on YouTube. They'll be putting it on my version of YouTube, but they can, do their own investigations and shows and all that and put them up on my channel. So it's all out there. And then, everyone can see the work that we're doing together. And if I can get students coming in from all over the world, male or female, don't care, especially if any of the kids at the school want to take classes, then, yeah, spread the light, spread the message and do some healing. And I'll lead by example, which is why I need to get out on the road with a little film crew and make these shows. It starts with me. It all starts with me. I'm the seed that's going to plant the family tree. And my family tree is going to be made up of all different kinds of branches and leaves. But it'll nourish the entire world. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I'm here, Lexi. So I'm going to go now. But, yeah, I'm ready. This is the start of it. You do what you got to do to get me out there, and I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. Just get me justice, get me the money, get me out of here, and then I will just set up my business, set up my company, and get this show on the road, quite literally. I'll head to Switzerland, get myself sorted, and then we'll head out on the road and do what I have to do for kids like Lexi. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.